What would make a bodybuilder walk away from the sport and start training more like a hybrid athlete? It's a great question to ask and one that I will be answering for you in this mini-series called Training for Wild Hybrid. If you don't know me, my name's Clara. I'm a chartered psychologist, a Healthcare Professions Council registered sport and exercise psychologist, and a fitness coach. And on top of that, I'm also an ex-bodybuilder who has been training like a hybrid bro for the last 3 and a bit years. And at the time of recording, I'm just under 12 weeks out from competing in a new event called Wild Hybrid. I think this is their second season, and I'll be doing their solo race on the 22nd of August in Edinburgh. Since stepping away from bodybuilding in 2021, I've completed 3 solo Hyrox events. I've completed a half marathon, a marathon, a 10k race, and I competed in ATHX earlier this year. And over the course of the next 12 weeks, I want to take you through my training plans, my progress, what's been going on in my life, talk you through a bit more around the performance demands of training like a hybrid athlete, so to speak, even though I don't identify as an athlete. I also want to show you ways in which the mindset that I had to develop to compete as a bodybuilder is helping me right now, like in these new sporting endeavors. And I also want to give you a bit more of a background as to why I stepped away from bodybuilding and what it is about hybrid training that's really given me a lot more to enjoy within training and within exercise. This isn't really going to be like a vlog style series because I don't really have time to sit, record myself every single day, like film my training and edit it and pull it together. But what I am hoping to do is like do a weekly review of where my training's at, what I'm doing, what I'm struggling with, and basically take you along the journey with me while highlighting and reflecting on some important aspects that come up for me and that I work on within my clients too, around training demands, recovery, exercising enough, nutrition, hydration, rest, the whole works. Essentially with the aim of giving you a bit more of an insight as to how an exercise psychologist and fitness coach applies the principles that she knows about from psychology and from training to be able to train herself and get herself to perform at a new event. So first things first, what does it even mean to be a hybrid athlete? I don't even know where the term came from, if I'm completely honest with you. I think it just got coined as part of like the whole Hyrox world, the sort of hybrid rock star thing. But I think that in the world of like fitness, at least in the fitness industry, when someone says that they are a hybrid athlete or that they train in a hybrid way, it is commonly understood that they weight train and that they also run and that they do some sort of like endurance activity in combination with the gym. Now, if you'd asked me a few years ago if this type of training ever appealed to me, I would have looked at you with the biggest stank face and called you absolutely crazy because I was so into the bodybuilding world. And I guess like my only concept of hybrid training was CrossFit, and it just looked so unappealing to me. So I could never really imagine myself stepping into this sort of sport. And I will be making more videos explaining exactly how that transition happened for me. So do subscribe to my channel to make sure that you don't miss out on those videos. But basically over the last few years, I have been training more like in a hybrid style, even though I don't identify as a hybrid athlete. And I obviously said that I'm doing this event called a Wild Hybrid, but if you're anything like me, you'll be like, what the hell even is that, right? I think some of us have a concept of what Hyrox is. I didn't know what Wild Hybrid was until a friend of mine directed my attention to it last year. But essentially it is an outdoor Hyrox style event. As I understand, the workouts change every single year, and this is the second year that they're running. And essentially what the competition entails is 5 stations, so 5 strength style stations that you have to complete after running a kilometer in between each station. So you'll do a trail kilometer run, and then the first exercise that you have to do is 50 sandbag lunges, I believe, which for female competitors is with 20 kilos on their back. The second exercise that you have to do is like sandbag kind of clean over to your shoulder and like chuck it down, and I think that is with 30 kilos. The third exercise that you have to do is a sled push and pull with 60 kilos, I believe, and that's for 80 meters. As I understand it, you have to push the sled first, then pull it back, and you do that 8 times. The fourth exercise that you have to do, or the fourth station that you have to do, is a devil's press, which is with 1 dumbbell, which basically you go down, you do a burpee, and then as you stand up from the burpee, you grab your dumbbell and you like, you know, perform a clean with it, and then you change over hands and you pop it up and down. And I think it's like 20 of those that you have to do. And then the final exercise that you have to do is 50 wall balls, and I think that's with 60, not with 60, with 6 kilos. So basically you run a kilometer on trail and then you perform one of these exercises. And then at the end of the 5 kilometers on trail with the exercise in between, you have to finish with a 5K on trail run, which to be honest, sounds kind of terrifying because you are running like 10K while also doing like activities in between. Now for anybody who knows how difficult it is to run, running 5K is hard, running 10K is hard, doing that with like other activities in between is even harder. I guess that's the appeal of Hyrox, is that you really get to challenge yourself both, I guess, to an extent from a strength perspective, but also from an endurance perspective. And there's a couple of reasons why I decided to sign up for this event specifically on the 22nd of August. For one, obviously it's quite local to me, so I don't have to travel really far. For two, it's significantly cheaper than Hyrox, because to be honest, from the first time that I did a Hyrox in Glasgow 2024 to what the prices are right now. Like, I'm pretty sure they're charging at least 30 quid more per event, and it's just kind of getting a little bit ridiculous. They're pretty saturated, and to be fair, part of me thinks that once you've done a couple of Hyroxes, like they are exactly the same all the time. And for me, like, I really value enjoying exercise. I really value pushing myself. I really value doing new things and like testing myself to do new things. And so repeating the same event over and over and over isn't necessarily like the most fun sounding thing to me. I think also at the same time, just kind of with everything that I've got going on in life at the moment, training for something like Hyrox would be something that would maybe not give me a ton of joy, especially because I've done 3 of them. And if I was to complete another Hyrox, I would want to be able to aim for like a personal best. And right now I'm just not really in the headspace or in the life space to be able to train so much so to really push for a PB in a new Hyrox. So actually trying something new is really appealing to me. And I've been kind of wanting to test out some trail running for a wee while, so I'm quite excited about testing this new event out. And obviously it's also like a new event style, so not a lot of people will be doing it, at least not as many people as will be doing a Hyrox, so that's got a bit of an appeal for me too. On top of that, the date of the event is quite important to me too, so it's like kind of at the tail end of summer, and I know that typically in the summer is when I might become less likely to stay consistent with my training. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Not everybody needs to be training full on all the time. I certainly know that I don't need to be training full on all the time, but over the last year, I have gone through quite a bit. I lost my mum just under a year ago at time of recording actually. And having exercise goals over the last year has been something that I've actually found quite helpful to keep me anchored. I find that when I get really sad or when grief kind of comes up and becomes quite loud for me, I'm much more likely to not want to exercise as much, and I am much more likely to want to bury myself in work. And basically like overworking and not exercising enough are things that like in the long term make me, or like I guess have an impact on the important relationships that I have in my life. And I don't want that for myself. I want to be able to feel good and kind of keep my vitality and keep my spark about me and not overwork. And essentially for me, exercise or having a physical goal is something that helps me create boundaries and basically like not overwork myself to the ground. I think being self-employed is also kind of part of that, but anyway, that's why it kind of feels important to have a goal that I can work towards over the course of the summer. Just because otherwise, with the lack of structure, with the lack of routine, especially that I'm going to have over the next 2 months, I think it'd be really, really easy for me to basically not do much at all and then come to the end of the summer and feel like I'm having to start back again. And I think there's something really important for me anyway about being able to have a sense of continuity with training. Not that I need a goal all of the time, but yeah, given the fact that the summer's probably going to be quite choppy and I'm going to be here, there and everywhere, having something to train for is going to be quite a helpful anchoring tool for me. I guess in training for this too, I want to be able to highlight to anybody who chooses to follow me or who chooses to watch these videos that your life doesn't have to be perfect, or like things don't have to be in a perfect state to be able to train for an event. And that training for an event can come from like so many different places. And for me, it is just that pure love of a new challenge, the enjoyment of pushing myself to do something different, the curiosity that it really kind of taps into for me of like, well, I've never done this before, so like let's give it a go. And so that feels quite important to sort of cultivate for myself, but also to be able to demonstrate in some shape or form to other people, because I think that sometimes we put off setting ourselves goals because we think that like everything has to be perfectly in line for that, when it's far from the truth. Like for example, for me this summer, like I said, at time of recording, it's the 2nd of June. So this weekend I've got my best mate's wedding for which I'm going to be a bridesmaid. The following week, a few days into that, I'm traveling to Madrid to go and see Bad Bunny, which is super exciting. After that, I'm going to be spending 4.5 to 5 weeks in my hometown in the border between France and Spain in the Basque Country. And for the first 2 weeks I'll be there, so like the second half of June, it's a local fiesta, which means that I'm going to be probably going out, staying out quite late, rather frequently throughout the week. Certainly on weekends there will be quite a bit of alcohol consumption going down. And after that, when July starts, I've got my birthday in the first half of the month, and then after that I'm going to Lyon for a psychology conference. So realistically, between now and like the 20th of July, my life is not necessarily going to be like super stable. And so I don't want that to stop me from training for a goal. And I also want to be able to show that you can make it happen and that you don't have to be totally like, woo, super clean, like mega ultra focused, that you can still live life in between training for something, but that you don't have to compromise on your values if doing something fitness related is quite important to you. So anyway, all that to say that I'm quite excited about this new event that I'm going to be training for. It's pretty freaking exciting to test yourself doing something new. I think I've also enjoyed in this past year doing things that I've got absolutely no benchmark for. Like when I did ATHX in January, I had no idea, you know, where I would stand relative to other people, like because it was for one, the first competition of the year, and I just had never done anything quite like that. So I find that really exciting and quite, it sort of taps in really to my value of curiosity. So I'm really looking forward to training for this event, to taking you along, to uploading a regular video onto YouTube, kind of talking you through a little bit more as to how I went from bodybuilding into hybrid training, and updating you a bit more on like how my training is actually going week by week. Like I said, highlighting what parts of like the psychology of sport and of exercise that I apply to myself and what I find most useful as I go along, as well as like obviously other principles of training and nutrition that I implement to support myself through this process, obviously with the support of my coach Tom. So yeah, a bit of an intro video, slightly different to the typical content that I've been posting up until this point, which has been mainly educational, but I hope that you enjoyed this mini series that I will be posting in the lead up to competing in Wild Hybrid in Edinburgh. And to make sure that you don't miss out on any future videos, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you here next week for part 1 of why I quit bodybuilding and how I became a hybrid Josephine. So anyway, on that note, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a like, and I'll see you in the next one.